What's up, everybody? So, today I want to talk about race and tech. And more specifically, I want to talk about racism within tech. See, it's become almost an accepted fact at this point that the tech industry is racist and sexist, in the same way that people just accept as fact that the wage gap exists. Even though if you actually look at the numbers and do calculations equally between men and women, the wage gap shrinks from 20 to 30 cents on the dollar to 1 or 2 cents. But if you fight against this, or if you say that the numbers are calculated incorrectly, well, you're accused of being a sexist or you're accused of being a misogynist. And the same thing applies to the tech industry. If you say that the industry isn't racist, or if you say that it isn't sexist, well, you're a racist and a sexist. So I found it a bit surprising that there was a New York Times article published earlier this week that was called "Why Silicon Valley Wouldn't Work Without Immigrants." See, if the tech industry is full of nothing but white men, how is it that the tech industry wouldn't work without immigrants? I mean, he doesn't say that the output would be less, or there would be less innovation, or the labor force would be smaller. No, he says it simply wouldn't work. Now, there's one paragraph within this article that really doesn't work in their favor. And it doesn't work in their favor so much that they kind of just slide it in. They almost hope you don't notice. He says, Silicon Valley gets rightly wrapped for talking a big game on its supposed meritocratic openness while failing on basic measures of diversity and inclusion. Women and non-Asian minorities make up a tiny fraction of the industry's employees and an even smaller portion of its executives and venture capitalists. In short, the tech industry is in thrall to white dudes as much as just about any other business. Women and non-Asian minorities. For an industry that's so racist, how is it that you can write women and non-Asian minorities? See, apparently people of color, underrepresented groups, minorities aren't welcome in tech, yet the author says women and non-Asian minorities. You literally needed a qualifier before minorities. But rather than explore why this is happening, why Asians seem to be doing okay in tech, instead they just label it a sexist and racist industry. Well, because there's not a lot of Hispanics and blacks, it must be a racist industry. But there was another article in the New York Times that explored this a little bit more, unintentionally, but it does shed some light onto why this may be happening. Within this article, there's a chart titled The Achievement Gap. And what it does is it breaks down SAT scores by race. So you have SAT scores by whites, Asians, Latinos, and blacks. And if you look at the chart at the very top, those students scoring 750 points and above, what you'll find is that 93% of students are white or Asian. And out of all those scoring 750 points and above, 60% are Asian. And just in case you think that there might be some differences in sample sizes here, well, they're actually pretty equal. As you'll see in the chart, 14% are Asian, 51% are white, 21% Latino, and 14% black. So if you're just comparing minority to minority here, Asians really have no advantage. It's not like there's more of them. They're equal to blacks and even less than Latinos. Yet somehow, they're 60% of the highest scoring SAT scores. And at first, I didn't really get that this was a filtered version of the SAT. I thought this was just the SAT in general. But these scores are just the math section of the SAT. The math section being something that's pretty crucial to computer science. Now, if you go to the computer science section of Stanford University, what you'll find is that they have a part called Mathematical Foundations, and they elaborate a bit on math and its role in computer science. What they say is, along with the programming concepts covered in the CS 106 courses, computer science requires the ability to think abstractly, often using the tools of mathematics. Unlike much of engineering, however, computer science depends heavily on discrete mathematics. In the same section, there's a requirements outline for the computer science degree at Stanford, and they list some of the courses that you're going to have to take. A lot of them include mathematics. As we'll see, there are 2 calculus courses you have to take. Mathematical Foundations of Computing, that sounds fun. Introduction to Probability for computer scientists. And along with that, you have to take 2 more math electives from a restricted set. Now imagine you're a student in high school. You've taken the SAT, you didn't do so hot on the math section, and as you're looking around at different degrees to pursue in college, you see computer science. But once you start reading through that a little bit more, you see them say it relies heavily on math, you're going to have to take a lot of math courses, and you just didn't do so hot on the math section of the SAT. Is it that hard to imagine that that student may not want to pursue a degree that relies so heavily on something they just didn't do that well on? See, it's a heavy thing to say that there's racism within the tech industry when there might not be any racism. Yes, there are a lot of Asians in tech. Yes, there are a lot of white people in tech. But if we look at the numbers, there are also a lot of white and Asians who do well on math. And if they do well on math and they see that they're going to have to use that a lot to get their degree, it seems logical to assume that those students would be more likely to choose computer science as a major. Now, let's be honest here. Math is one of those subjects, you either love it or you hate it. And some people hate it so much they will do anything they can to stay away from it, including myself. I was a computer science major in college, and then I found out I was going to have to take a ton of math, so I dropped out. I pursued a different degree. Now, I'm a software developer today, but the fact still stands that I didn't want to take any math courses, so I chose a different path. So is it that unreasonable to assume that other people might be doing the same? And when we have SAT scores that are this lopsided towards two races, again, 93% being white and Asian, is it that crazy that we see a difference in race that's pretty similar to that within the industry? But this is the reality of diversity and inclusion. See, when there's a minority or a race who's doing really well while actually being a minority, rather than looking into that, they just exclude them with terms like women and non-Asian minorities. And this isn't the first time either. See, Asians at certain colleges actually have to score above other races because Asians do so well. But we're not looking into why this is happening or why Asians are doing so well. Instead, they just exclude them. It's the invisible minority. It's the minority that does so well, they don't count as a minority. The reality here is they don't want to know the truth. They would rather just label the industry as being racist and it being an industry full of white men who want to keep it full of white men, even though there are plenty of Asians who seem to be doing just fine within the industry. Instead, they redefine terms like women and non-Asian minorities to exclude Asians, or they just completely redefine underrepresented groups or people of color to not include Asians, even though they are literally a minority within this country. I can't help but feel that they are scared of the truth. They're scared of looking into Asian households because they're going to find that they are raised in a completely different way. The parents are extremely involved. Their parents push them in school, if not too much. The parents push them towards well-paying fields. Find me an Asian parent who pushes their kids towards gender studies. It doesn't happen. They're pushing them towards STEM fields, high-paying fields like computer science. There's a complete cultural difference here. It's not that uncommon in Asian countries for students to go to school during the day, and then once they're done with school, they continue going to school. When I was in college, if you walked into the library on a weekend, you could bet money that the majority of the students in there were foreign exchange students of Asian descent. This is so bad that Asians at certain colleges actually have to score higher on their SATs just to get in. If you want to talk about equality, they seem to have all of the odds stacked against them, yet they're still doing well. So as the debate continues and as people continue to advocate for more diversity and inclusion in tech, I'm sorry if it's going to be hard for me to be sympathetic towards your cause when I feel like you're being dishonest and ignoring the bigger picture here. You say you care about minorities and underrepresented groups, yet you exclude one minority simply because they're doing well. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please click like below and subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments, whether you agree or disagree with me. And if you want to hear me talk even more than what you just did right now, I have my own podcast, The Adam Morgan Show. Find it on iTunes or Stitcher, or even just click the videos on this channel because I upload them here as well in video form. Thanks for listening.